Greetings. I'm your brother, Elder Blacklight, coming to you with, I hope, another enlightening video. The name of this video is going to be entitled, Heed the Word of an Elder Brother. You know, old man carries a lot of weight. Some people hate to hear that word, old man, when they get a certain age. But if you live to be an old man, what they call old man, but when you read the scriptures, cats was living to be 900,000 years. And see, this is what we don't really take into consideration because we don't believe it. We were made to be fooled by the scriptures, and a lot of it we don't believe. But when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that if rightly comprehended, you could get much wisdom from it. And so today, I'm going to give you some of the benefits of my experience coming up in Detroit, Michigan. I was born in 1946 in Detroit, Michigan. In Black Bottom, or near Black Bottom, or maybe a street away, what they call Wilkins. I was born in the hospital, though. In those days, in Detroit, they had black hospitals, little small hospitals. And my mother, she signed up. This is her Nation of Islam donation book. You see how old it is. Open the pages. And she got 1948. Then I see another one got 1947 though. But she was going to the temple. That's what they called the temple instead of a mosque. They called it a temple. With her older brother, her older brother, and my grandmother, and her oldest sister. She lived in St. Louis, but she came up here on a visit. Her name was, we called her Aunt Juanita. My uncle, him and Malcolm X, they were real tight. He was tight with the whole family. And when my mother came in the temple, I don't know if it was before Malcolm, but it was before I was born in 1946. She didn't actually join up until 1947. But she was going to the meetings while she was pregnant with me. And then I remember going as a little child, sitting with her. My father didn't sign up with he didn't join up with the nation. My father was a Mason. Then he stopped going to that. But we never was Christians. My grandmother she was a Christian on my mother's side, her mother, and my father's mother was a Christian. My father from Little Rock, around Little Rock, in a city called Salahachie. I guess I'm saying it right. It's an Indian name. Near Morton, I think, or Morgan. One of those little small cities near Little Rock. I think it was 50 miles outside of Little Rock. My mother was born in Crownlet, a little small suburb in St. Louis, Missouri. And so, getting up right along, when I was born in Detroit, 1946, July the 28th, she was in the Nation of Islam. At 7 years old, she took me out. Now, I'm not going to be able to complete my whole history when I was young and coming up. I'm going to give you sketches of it. I'm a very good observer, and I learned from my uncle, and mostly, and I had two other uncles that was my uncle's brother. They were mainly gangsters and hustlers on Hastings Street. I learned from them also. So I started learning from my uncle, even though my mother, she didn't go to the Nation no more. She dropped out when I was around the age of 7. So you young brothers coming up in the millennium, the 2000, you don't get many brothers that's old as I am in their right mind to school you up on things, you know. And I'm not a brother that's ego tripping, because I wasn't brought up exactly in the Nation. I was born in the Nation, but I wasn't brought up all the way in the Nation. And recently, I mean not recently, but in the, I say the 90s, I started going back to meetings. And the last brother I joined up with was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's blood and spiritual brother, Supreme Minister John Muhammad. And he had Temple Number 1 here in Highland Park. I'm not in Highland Park, but Highland Park is like a city inside Detroit. And he taught me about the very beginnings of when Elijah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was talking with Master Farad Muhammad in his house. Now, a whole lot of those conversations, Supreme Minister John Muhammad was there. And I asked about Master Farad Muhammad. And, you know, he told me why they woke, Supreme Minister told me why the bow tie got started, you know. And he said he was the one that really started them wearing the bow tie. Because one day he didn't have a straight tie. So Master Farad went in his briefcase and gave him a bow tie, a clip-on. Well, they started wearing clip-ons after that, because they said that if you was to get into a hand-to-hand combat situation with a devil police officer, if you had a bow tie that you tied yourself, they could grab it and strangle you. But if you got a clip-on bow tie, they grab it and it just pull off in their hands. And it will be a distraction for them, and you have a couple of seconds to do some strikes on him. So, you know, from time to time I'm going to tell you little bits and pieces of wisdom and what I learned here in Detroit. But Detroit, out of all the cities, after we had the 1967 conflict or riots, I'm just going to stick with riots, we had a black mayor. This black mayor wasn't like any other black mayor in the whole United States because he was down for his people. But the Boulets and the gatekeepers, after almost 20 years of him being mayor, they finally got him out because they wanted the Caucasians to rule. And these Boulets were stealing their own brothers and sisters blind, stealing toilet paper out the schools and computers and all other type of stuff. So I've been observing all this, and I was back in a time where brothers wasn't afraid of the Caucasian. I mean, we fought the police when I was living over on Finkel and Wildermere. We fought the police back in 1958, 7. We was turning over their cars, jacking them up, catch them walking down the street. They had beats back in those days. They walked the beat, and we would be up in the dark corner somewhere, catch them walking down the street, and mug them and take their guns. We were some bad brothers, man, and we wasn't playing. Unlike y'all scary brothers today, y'all don't know what to do because he have put fear in our hearts. So now we done let him build up his arsenal. He got all types of weapons of mass destruction. We can't compete like that no more. So we only got to do, we only can do the mental things. Now a whole lot of brothers call spirit, we into spirituality. I think that's the wrong word. I think the right word is mental. We into the mentality of ourselves. When the coming of Master Farad Muhammad put those teachings on us, he was telling us about our mental self. So later on, I'm going to be giving you some more experiences and correlating or lining that up with Master Farad Muhammad and his teachings. This is Black Light. Stay up and stay in tune.